Welcome to Been There, Watch That, your favorite movie and TV reviewers. Justin, myself, Joe, and Dave, as always. Find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, BTWT Pod. That's BTWT for Been There, Watch That Pod. Also, Joe maintains our website, BeenThereWatchThat.com. It's my pick this week, and I chose Ford versus Ferrari.
Dave, you are recording, correct?
You betcha.
Perfect.
Not messing around, Joe.
Let's make sure, because we had a quick conversation before we started. I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask before we get any further. Sorry about that. Okay, so.
Hey, I could use a second take anyway, so if we weren't recording. Usually the first one's a little shaky.
Nah, we're good. All right, so Ford versus Ferrari.
2019, Matt Damon, Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Racing.
So,
movie.
Dave, you did watch this movie.
Yeah, I watched it prior.
So this was my first take, Justin. This was your first take too,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, this is probably the third time I've seen it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, after watching, I can see why.
Hmm.
But
It's easy to watch.
Full disclosure: when I saw the preview and when it first came out in theaters,
Mhm.
I saw the preview and I wasn't really sold on the movie.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I remember it not being something I was like, oh, I gotta go see that. I was a little skeptical.
Yeah, because I thought, okay, yeah, it's a history of two car makers, big whoop. But boy, was I wrong. It is well worth a big whoop.
Yeah. Well, have you ever seen Christian Bale with the British accent before in any movie?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't know that was Christian Bale till after I did my notes after the movie.
Is he
Like,
British?
No.
He isn't.
So
Okay.
let me, and I know you've probably seen him in some of this stuff. So, do you guys want to go ahead and jump into the synopsis and cast?
You're always good about setting the stage.
Yeah, and I'm going to watch the trailer while you're doing that, just because I don't remember the trailer, so I'm going to see what impression it gives.
Okay. Okay. So, Ford versus Ferrari is a story of the American car designer Carroll Shelby and driver Ken Miles battle corporate interference and the laws of physics to build revolutionary race cars for Ford in order to defeat Ferrari at the 24-hour Le Mans race in 1966. It stars Matt Damon as Carroll Shelby, and for those of you that aren't familiar with Matt Damon's work, he was in Good Will Hunting and the Born Identity, Born Supremacy, that series of movies.
Joe has to see Good Will Hunting at some point. That's a role I'm putting down.
Yeah, actually, whenever whoever's turn comes up and picks that one, I'm actually excited to watch that one. Christian Bale played Ken Miles, and he was in Batman Begins and Dark Knight. And I have seen Dark Knight. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, wait, time out. The same guy that was Batman was Ken Miles, and so phenomenal job to Christian Bale, because I didn't recognize him. And then John Berthel. This makes John Berthel's second appearance on our podcast, or name drop. He was Lee Iacocca. So if you go back to our previous episode where we reviewed Peanut Butter Falcon, John Berthel makes an appearance in it. And John Berthel is also known for the Walking Dead series.
Yep, that's where I first saw him.
Me too. So, and then also Josh Lucas.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
He's in Peanut Butter Falcon?
Yeah.
He's the older brother that.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Flashback
Yeah.
scenes.
Flashback
Yeah.
scenes. There you go.
Yeah. He wasn't in there a lot. He was the brother in Peanut Butter Falcon that they just did the little blips to.
Silent role.
Yeah.
No spoken word. Well, no audible. We couldn't hear what they were saying.
Right.
Yeah.
And Josh Lucas played Leo Beebe, and he was in Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, I like him. He's a good actor.
Oh,
He plays
made
a
you-
scoundrel in this movie.
Yeah, he did a good job of making you want to punch him.
Yeah, by the end of the movie, I just wanted
He was
I wanted to reach to the TV and just wear him out.
He was like the Ford executive that couldn't help like getting his hands on in the racing business and trying to mess with everything and control.
And he let his personal bias interfere. Yeah, he did not like Ken
He had
Miles.
it out for Christian Bale's character
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah, and it's funny the way that he was portrayed in the movie, that Ford actually distanced themselves at the beginning before the movie was released just based on their portrayal of Leo Beebe.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
They said, time out, we don't want any part of that if you're going to...
Yeah.
Apparently they finally came around, but before that release, they distanced themselves from from the movie.
Yeah, going into it, Dave said I think you're referring to Tracy Letts, the guy who plays Henry Ford the second. He said he was pretty good in it, and you liked him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he stood out to me. I thought he
Yeah.
played that role really well.
Yeah, because that's a tough role to play. You got to kind of be the guy that, like, I thought he gave a very accurate portrayal of a guy that's kind of like a bumbling knucklehead, but yet powerful in making decisions without trying to be the bumbling knucklehead, and yet still comes around and makes some good decisions, even though you're not sure that he would, and then ends up screwing it up anyway. But
yeah, what was that?
He did it really well. I believed him.
At the beginning, he basically tells him to hit stop on the assembly line at the Ford plant, and basically threatens.
Like, he's way over dramatic. Like, he's the.
What was he saying though? That basically their sales were down or something.
Yeah, sales were down. The new kids weren't buying Fords, and and he had this overly dramatic. You see it happen, and you're just like, whatever, man. You're trying too hard to be the head honcho that will just stop everything.
It kind of plays into the stereotypical owner's kid thinks he knows everything.
Yeah. Overcompensating for lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
By executing authoritarian.
Is he the grandson of the original Henry Ford or the son?
Grandson. He's a
okay.
grandson.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I thought he was the son because it said he was the second.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
So we're in the 60s at this point, right?
Right. So okay. Yeah.
And he's the heir to the Ford dynasty. That he's the head honcho there at Ford. He's a pretty prominent character.
So the movie opens up with Carroll Shelby, and I'm not a huge gearhead, but Carroll Shelby is that one name that kind of stands out that is kind of legendary in the automotive industry, and kind of showing up just how legendary this guy is. First 2 minutes of the movie, he gets out of the car and catches on fire and just like jumps back in and goes race. It's like, okay, now that lives up to the
he's a racer.
Yeah, the persona of Carroll Shelby of like literally there's nothing gonna stop him from completing the task.
Yeah.
But the beginning there's a scene where he's driving at Le Mans, which just sounds like this grueling 24-hour race on like these roads at night, and it's wet conditions and stuff. This is over in, is it France?
Yeah,
or Italy, I guess. And but he's kind of like blacking out, and he's having like basically
he's having heart issues.
Not able to. Oh, okay, is that what it was? Yeah, that's right.
That's he had to stop racing because the next scene shows him at the doctor's office, and he's like, "You're done."
So he's this legendary racer, but it kind of sets it up to where he can't race anymore.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that race, and I've watched NASCAR over the years and seen all the safety things that they've put into this stuff nowadays, and then watching how they raced in the 60s, it's like basically it was the Wild West. It's like there was the only thing stopping you was yourself. There was no safety feature. There was
I mean, they're going 200 miles an hour down basically a country road
for 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
I mean, the car was going for 24 hours, but we learned that they swapped out drivers throughout, but basically it's the same two drivers for that whole 24-hour period that you'd run in shifts, and it's just crazy to think that things like that go on, because I know watching NASCAR where, the longest race is probably, 4, 5, 6 hours depending on wrecks and all that. And so how grueling it is as hot as it gets in those cars, I couldn't imagine trying to drive 24 hours and keep everything going.
Yeah.
It's crazy. A lot of wear and tear, a lot of risk.
That's a big element of the movie is how do you manage the vehicle, push it to the limit without breaking it. Because that was an issue.
And the whole premise came from, Ford wanted to attract a younger market. And how do you do that? You race.
Yeah.
And they targeted, for some reason, it's kind of crazy. Back in the 60s, Le Mans was a big deal. I mean, they made a movie about Le Mans with Steve McQueen. They made a couple other movies about Le Mans. It was a big deal. And Americans could not compete. So Ford said, and this is real, went and tried to buy Ferrari because Ferrari was struggling. But Fiat was giving them cash stipends for a while, and then actually bought them, after this time, back in, I think, 68, I think, is when they actually bought them. so that they could, and the whole controversy of this is what spurred Ford to finally, the Deuce to make that final decision was that Enzo Ferrari is like, nope, I'm not selling it to crappy Americans, and then he's like, all right, fine, we'll go beat his ass, in the race. So that kind of was the turning point of yes, now we're in the race.
Mm-hmm.
But they did go tour the factory in real life. They did look, they did talk about it, but Fiat had been giving Ferrari money for promoting Italian manufacturing anyway, and then ended up buying them in '68. So,
and it's crazy to learn that here's Ford, that they have all these assembly lines and all that, and then we learned that Ferrari was literally hand building everything.
Well, yeah, they're building high end, then they still do high end race cars and high end performance machines that aren't your average.
But it was all built by hand.
Oh yeah, if you want good performance, it's got to be by hand. That's just how it is. And I mean, that's when we raced motorcycles. You took everything apart and you redid it all because sloppy manufacturing, just how it happens.
Yeah.
And I looked it up, and Le Mans still goes on. This year's Le Mans is going to start August 21st, Saturday, August 21st through Sunday, August 22nd.
Yeah.
So if you want to catch this year's Le Mans,
yeah,
there we go.
It's still a big deal.
Say you drive full bore for 4 hours and then take a nap. They showed Miles he'd have some tea after getting out of the car. The other guy would switch in. He'd take a nap.
Oh yeah.
Jump back in.
Yep, that's how they did. So they have different categories in Le Mans. I think like a solo, and then they have a team, and
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't think about till Cena mentioned it when we was watching it is you really have to watch your intake as far as eating and drinking, because you can't stop for a bathroom break.
Pull over and have a restroom break. Yeah.
Can't have that distracting you.
Yeah, because
I really gotta pee.
Yeah, because if you're having a 2, 4, 6 hour stint, however long your stint is, you can't be stopping to go potty. So that's one thing I never even considered. I mean, I know nowadays it's nothing that you hear the race car drivers and NASCAR drivers talk about, just going to the bathroom in their suits.
Oh yeah, if you have to go, you got to go.
Yeah. Now, did you guys notice when they was in the board meeting, they was talking about not the local yokels at Winston-Salem Racing?
Yeah.
Okay, I think, now this is pure speculation on my part, I couldn't find anything, but I think that's in reference to the legendary Bowman Gray Stadium.
I don't know enough about NASCAR to know.
Bowman Gray Stadium, it's a still racetrack. Of course, we didn't go last year, but we've gone there at least once every summer since 2010. And Bowman Gray Stadium is a NASCAR sanctioned quarter-mile asphalt flat oval short track and long-standing football stadium located in Winston-Salem. It's one of the stock car racing's most legendary venues and referred to as NASCAR's longest-running weekly racetrack.
Wow.
But we always go to it in the summers.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember you.
Yeah, Dad and I, there was a show on Discovery Channel. It was a reality show. They followed some of the drivers that went to Bowman Gray called Madhouse. And basically, the way they race is it's all or nothing, and it's nothing to see on a Saturday night. You go down there, pay $10, well worth it, and watch guys drive basically like they did in Le Mans. It's wide open, and if you get my way, I will run you off the track, and there may be a fist fight involved.
Yeah.
I mean, it's racers doing racing, not this, where NASCAR's kind of taken the lead over the years of let's be safer, guys, let's slow down.
A lot of pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, it's like, no, you're going to race, it's all or nothing. And if you tear up my car, you're not going to have a car to drive back either.
Yeah, there was a little jab at one point. I forget which character it was, but it might have been Shelby's character, kind of looking down on NASCAR a little bit as basically turning left for
4 hours.
Yeah.
All you do is
making
turn
a slight left turn for that long.
Yeah.
This is more. You're downshifting like crazy, going through tight turns.
Yeah, this is road course racing. It's a whole other ordeal.
And I thought that was one of the most enjoyable parts for me about the movie was just like the little bit of thrillingness of the way they shot the racing scenes and just like the engine noise and the downshifting, going into turns. They did a good job with
the brakes.
Just all the cars looked really cool too.
Yeah.
got to and I'm not even a big car head or anything, but for folks that are really into old Fords and Ferraris, I mean, you're getting to see some pretty cool.
Yeah, you're getting to see kind of the pristine of what the old racing style.
Yeah, I mean, some of those Ferraris, I mean, the '60s, they look pretty futuristic.
Oh yeah, they're crazy iconic.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of find funny too a little bit. If you are a gearhead, like the Ford cars don't look anything like any of the Ford models. But I mean, in order to race, it has to, like in the beginning, they're talking about the cars basically wanting to be an airplane. So, you got to change the looks, you got to change the style to get everything to perform the way you need it to. So, interesting stuff. Now, a couple tidbits. Christian Bale's lost 70 pounds.
He is English, by the way.
Yeah, he's English.
Oh, he is.
Yeah, he was born in Wales to English parents.
Yeah, so he lost 70 pounds to look more like Ken Miles.
Yeah, that's what I didn't recognize.
Because he came from Dick Cheney to Ken Miles, and he had to drop 70 pounds. And Matt Damon, said he had monk-like behavior. He was very diligent. And
man, he's like famous for doing that, dropping and losing.
Oh yeah,
gaining and losing weight for roles. It's crazy.
And he worked with Ken Miles' son to get an accurate portrayal of Ken, and transferred some of that knowledge over to the actress that played Ken's wife. And then he and the boy in the movie. They put on a great father-son moment. It was all by just improvisation. Yeah. He pulls in after winning the race, and the son gets in the car with him, and he's like, "Hey, let's take a lap." Well, that was all Christian Bale. He's like, "What if I tell him to get in the car and we do a lap, And then he sang a song from his childhood, "I'm Happy," and that song is actually an English song that kids sing, and he sung it, and the boy, Peter Bales. I don't know what his real name is. He's also English, so he knew the song. So he jumped in on it. And it was just one of those moments that was, just pure, I won't say accident, but, improvisation. And it worked out and made the cut in the movie, and it was a pretty cool father-son moment.
Yeah, and I also read where when they did the went to I'm just drawing a blank here. Christian Bale went actually to driving school to learn how to drive these cars, and his trainer was actually worked with Ken Miles.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically just a direct. Other than his son, I mean, it's funny how this movie worked out where they was getting. Some of it was intentional, working with Ken's son, but indirectly getting a direct connect to Ken as far as learning the driving techniques and all that.
Wow. What'd you think of the trailer, Dave?
I can see why it doesn't portray the movie correctly. Whoever did the trailer, I don't think watched the movie.
I was afraid that, you watch the trailer sometimes, you're like, okay, I pretty much get it. I don't think the trailer has most of the movie in it. And it is kind of a longer trailer with a lot of scenes.
It jumps back and forth amongst the scenes that don't really portray what the movie's about. I mean, a little bit of, Henry Ford II, a little bit of Ken Miles talking with his son, because that's how it starts out. He's talking to his son on the practice track, and just, I don't know, it shows a little bit of Matt Damon here and there, but it doesn't really, like you said, Joe, if I watched the trailer, I'd never know that it was part of this movie.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't sold on the movie. When I saw the trailer when it first released, I was like, I don't know. It looks more like a history lesson than no thank you. If I want to watch a movie, I want something entertaining. I don't want boring.
But there were some explosions.
Oh yeah, the director James Mangold really wanted to pull off the illusion of speed, and and they worked with all their technician and craftspeople, and they put it together and said, if it doesn't look fast, we're just going to do it again.
Yeah.
And they did it again, and they did it until it looked like they were doing 200 miles down the straightaways. Like you said, Justin, the shifting and.
Yeah, there's some movies where you can tell. Sometimes you can tell certain shots for a second. You're like, they're going like 40 miles an hour, and portrayed as 100.
Yeah.
This didn't have that issue.
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling. There wasn't any part of the movie that I felt pulled me out of that situation. Where the situation was, like the whole time I felt like I was there, I was able to be into the movie and didn't feel like, wait a minute, you just took me out of the story plot. Now you're gonna have to pull me back in. I was in for the whole ride. Yeah,
they did some cool zooming out and the car's going really fast down a straightaway and you see the crowd and stuff. So they did some really good camera work, I thought. sometimes it'd be zoomed way out. Other times you're like right down there in the corner where they're going through real fast. And
So I found this interesting. Though in North America, the movie was marketed as Ford versus Ferrari, but in most other countries, it was actually titled Le Mans '66.
so that's the first year Ford won, was 66. At the end, they show that they won like 4 years in a row.
Yeah,
But then never again.
yeah,
It's the only American car that's ever won at Le Mans.
right, and especially 4 years in a row.
Yeah. They had a good little run there, but then
And
we're on a bit of a losing streak now.
and hats off to Carroll Shelby. He
Had
through
to-
the whole process made sure he had his hands in the whole ordeal from beginning to end, even on the track, and he stood up for his product, his workers, his crew. And Cena made an observation that I didn't even pick up on. So at the race, Mr. Ford leaves the race to go get dinner and leaves in the helicopter.
Yeah, fancy.
Yeah, and Shelby's right there in the pit with the guys the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Changing the brakes, everything.
Yeah. Overseeing everything, managing it all.
Yeah, doing time tracks and all that. And that's one thing I just never caught on. Cena goes, tells you the stature of the man when, he's not above.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going
Getting dirty.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's not going to ask somebody to do something he wouldn't do himself.
Yeah, and then kind of the wrinkle in the film is BB, who's played by the heck is his name?
Josh Lucas.
Josh Lucas
Yeah.
is the bad guy. He's constantly trying to undermine him.
Yeah.
Which there's mixed reviews. Some of the Ford people say that he is not that kind of guy. That he was hard nosed, but he wasn't the kind of guy to cut people down. But boy, Josh Lucas pulls it off and makes you just hate him.
Yeah, you just literally want to reach to the TV and just knock him out, especially with it rolls out at the end.
So kind of weird. Josh Brolin also filmed some scenes for the movie, but none of it made it in the actual video.
Really?
Yeah. And he was a little upset about it. He sent out some tweets that had him and Matt Damon. It's like, man, we really killed it. These movie executives don't know what they have. They should have left it in there.
Right.
But, interesting enough to see. Josh Brolin almost got in.
So the scene where Ken's talked to his wife about going to work for Shelby,
Yeah.
and they're talking about money.
Yeah.
So Ken tells his wife that he's been offered $200 a day plus expenses,
Expenses,
and
yeah.
she's just floored. So we're sitting here thinking about, okay, $200 a day, that's not much. I mean that's a good, even today's standard, that's not a bad money maker. But this was in 1966.
66, yeah.
So if we up it to today's rate, in 2019, that amount would come to $1,620 a day plus expenses.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so now you see why he was.
So that's such a big deal.
Yeah, why she was like,
Moly.
yeah, basically bashing him over the head. Are you stupid? Why aren't you already saying? Why aren't you telling me that you did this instead of asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, part of the thing that they keep coming back to is like that the Ford execs don't seem to understand is you can't just buy a win. That's one thing he brings up. Like you have to have the right driver in there for you. You can't just put anybody in there. And Shelby really is, he's a believer in Miles. And then the big conflict of the movie is that the Ford guys do not like this Miles guy. They're like, what if somebody puts a microphone in front of his face? How's he going to represent the Ford team? He's going to do something stupid.
Well, and they had a really interesting conversation at the test track where at the same time they're having this conversation, Ken Miles set the lap record for the track.
Yep.
First time getting in a car.
Yeah.
And he's telling him, well, he's not the right image. He's kind of a beatnik. And then he's like, well, he drove a busted tank across Europe in World War II. Really, he's not a beatnik. He's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, maybe he's just too good then. And he kind of flip-flops on, and that just makes you hate BB. It hate Josh Lucas. And you're just like, what a dirtbag. And
He wants to
manipulate
He wants
the
credit for like the teams. He wants to. Can't stand having that. And that's the thing that Barenthal's character. He's kind of trying to play middle ground a little bit, and he's like, Shelby, you got to kind of work with these guys and Ford guys. They're not gonna let you just totally take over and not give them any credit.
Right.
Gotta be a team player.
Team player, yeah.
And Miles isn't a team player at this point, which they all knew that, and that was Shelby's role, was to kind of tame Miles and make him a team player.
And I found it funny that, it's no secret I'm a tech nerd.
Yeah.
That I always love a good gadget or gizmo. And Miles, he jumps in the test car and they have all this equipment hooked up.
I was gonna say, to make your day when they threw the computer out.
Absolutely, yes, it did. So, as much as I am a tech nerd, there's sometimes that I will admit, and I'm annoyed that technology gets in the way. So there's Miles on the test track, and he's trying to do a test lap, and all that garbage, all that tech is in the way. So he literally throws it out as garbage, and starts taping little pieces of string.
Yeah.
And literally, everybody that's standing there watching, going, "Oh wow, he is losing air there."
Well, that's the engineer comes over in the movie, and he's like, "He is," and they're like, "Yeah," and you don't need a computer to tell you.
Yeah.
You can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not rocket science, guys. Look how simple it is. You don't have to have all this fancy gadgetry to prove your point. Right here, just some string and some tape. So Miles may not be the ideal candidate, but obviously he's much more knowledgeable about the subject than what Ford wants to acknowledge.
Yeah.
They tried to sideline him, but then Ford went over and basically got embarrassed the year before they won at Le Mans. And so then Henry Ford II, he's like, he's all about winning. So Shelby comes in there and basically says, you need to give me the reins and give me the driver I want, and I'll get you a win. And then that he's able to get Miles back in, even though eventually he's undermined again. The one guy just does not want to see Miles on the winning the race.
Oh yeah.
And representing Ford.
When they lock Josh Lucas up in the office and Shelby takes Mr. Ford out in the car and takes him all the way into the track, that was the funniest part of the whole movie. It's like, yeah, there's a part where he craps his pants.
Oh, he was going super fast, weaving through cones with this Ford executive.
Yeah, well,
didn't know what was coming.
Henry Ford II.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he wanted to see what $9 billion bought him. Well, there you go. That's how you prove it.
And it's kind of crazy. So there's a lot of significance in how the movie did kind of stay accurate to the portrayal of the events, but also strayed off the path a little bit. Like according to Carroll Shelby, he and Miles never really had a fist fight or never had a grocery fist fight, which one of the funniest scenes in the movie for me was when they have their little tussle out in the street and the wife goes and pulls up a chair and a drink and is looking at her magazine while it's going on.
Yeah, it's like, and she almost acts like this is normal, that it's nothing good for these guys to be doing this. And
I really, really liked where he's like, hey, she's like, hey, do you want a pop or soda or whatever? And he's like, yes, please. And she's like, Shelby, would you like one as well? And he's like, and he's like, none for him.
Yeah, just me, not him.
Yeah,
he can get his own.
Yeah,
don't get a pop for him.
So still the little childish, playground fight thing still going on.
Yeah, they mentioned, it's been a few years. The last time we had a little brawl like this was back in whatever year.
And I like that he started to hit him with a canned good, and he stopped and grabbed a loaf of bread and starts beating him with a loaf of bread because, like you said earlier before the show started, Joe, he didn't want to hurt him, but it was still a fight.
Yeah. He even though he was fighting,
he couldn't hurt his race car driver.
Yeah, even though they was fighting, that was still his friend, and I want to prove my point and get my point across, but I'm not willing to risk actual physical harm.
Yeah.
So I'll beat you with the bread.
Yeah, it's just funny because Matt Damon's character, he's got his fancy sunglasses on. He's looking all swag, and he gets kind of right up in his face, and he's basically chewing him out a little bit, and then out of nowhere, just a fist comes through the frame and punches him right in the nose. Where he's like, "Oh, all right, I guess we're doing this now." We're gonna fight here in the yard.
Yeah, which is just another one of those. It lives up to the Carroll Shelby legendary. He takes no nonsense off of anybody.
Yep.
And would it be fair to say almost John Wayne-esque, like we're going to do it my way?
Oh yeah.
And
because it's the right way and it'll get results.
Right. And even though you think I'm wrong, I'm going to prove it to you I'm right.
Yeah, he was able to deal with the executives in a way Miles obviously never could. He was able to push back and be a little bit firm, but at the same time he was able to play ball a little bit and live within that world of the suits, the guys in the suits.
Yeah, he was able to get his point across without just, leaving the table.
Yeah.
Now,
although, we haven't got to the end yet, but the way the end plays out, which I know we'll get to there shortly.
yeah,
But
I was going to say, let's go ahead and jump into that.
well, no, let's.
I'm ready. I'm ready,
okay.
Joe. Go ahead.
But,
you finish out.
When you see the way it all plays out, it's like, I wouldn't have blamed him a bit for leaving that table.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, so, and there's a lot of conflicting results. Or not results, but stories about what actually happened. So, they did have rain, they did have the wrecks, they did have equipment failures in the Le Mans that they portrayed. Miles actually did have trouble closing his door, but it was reportedly because he caught his helmet on the door when he was getting in. So he kind of did it to himself.
I thought Ferrari had was messed with the door handle because they do that quick flip over to the Ferrari owner himself. I thought they monkeyed with the door.
Nah. So, but he bent the door by slamming it on his own helmeted head. In real life, and but that didn't stop him. He did set multiple new lap records. He did have brake fade, and the pit crew did come up with an unorthodox strategy replacing the front brake rotors, and the French racing officials were shocked by it, but they didn't have any vocal objections from the Ferrari's pit crew like the movie portrayed. So there wasn't like that animosity between teams, I guess.
But deep down that there had to be some kind of like, hey, why are they doing that? Why didn't we?
Oh
think
yeah.
of that
I'm
kind
sure.
of
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then there's that funny little part where Shelby nicks their stopwatches. Apparently, there's no record of that, but just part added into the film, kind of playing into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're ready for the ending, I got the scoop on it.
Okay, so whenever you guys.
Have you guys looked at the budget? If not, I'm gonna.
No,
Yes.
I have no idea.
Let's do a
Okay, yeah, I had the budget.
quiz here.
I know
See who
Christian Bales did not do any of his own driving. They did not put him in a race car to drive.
Well, that's kind of disappointing.
Well, I mean, yeah. You look at it, though, he's a lot of money at risk right there.
Right,
So,
yeah.
Don't put him in anything high performance.
Right.
Keep him safe.
What's your guess, Joe? Budget.
Oh no, I know it, so I'm gonna.
Dave, what do you think?
I have no idea. I don't know. 500 million?
97 million.
Okay.
Was the budget?
I was way off. I know they had to recreate tracks. They got all the expensive cars. There's a lot of stuff going on there. High name actors.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where's that kind of fit in like a normal movie budget?
Nowadays?
Yeah.
Well, like some of the big superhero ones are like multiple hundreds of millions, I think.
Let me look up Avengers Endgame because that was a real big budget one.
Back in the day, Titanic, that was like a big budget, which is probably normal now, a normal size budget now.
Yeah. So
Okay,
98 million.
Okay, so here,
What-
Avengers Endgame, to give you guys some idea. Okay, the budget for Avengers Endgame was $356 million.
Oh wow. How much did this movie gross? Did it make back its 98 million?
Yep. Well, worldwide, yeah, it made probably doubled its money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in U.S. it was 117 million. Worldwide was 225 million.
Nice. Good. It's a good movie. So, all right, on to the ending. So, apparently, according to both parties, there's a lot less internal bickering.
Right.
Especially about BB's directive that Miles slow down long enough for second, third place Fords to catch up. In the heat of the moment, Shelby was completely fine with that suggestion. And he said in an interview, though, he did regret it because and this is his quote, "I'll be forever sorry that I agreed with Leo Beebe and Henry Ford to have the three cars come across the same time. Ken was 1.5 laps ahead, and he'd have won the race. It broke his heart. Then we lost him in August." So, not the internal strife that the movie makes it out to be. But it also says Miles was also more accommodating in real life than the movie. Even though he'd been screwed over, he judiciously tried to explain to the Los Angeles Times, "Please be careful in how you report what I've said. I work for these people. They've been awfully good to me." And, even though he's congenial and talented, he denied recognition in his lifetime due to minor technicalities and a fatal accident in his late 40s. So, yeah, a little extra polish on the story. But, Ken Miles, obviously a talented driver and would have won Le Mans straight out, but was the team player.
So yeah, the scene is that all first, second, and third at Le Mans in this year that they won are all Ford cars, and the Ford execs want Ken Miles, who's beating the other two Ford cars, to slow down so they can all finish at the same time and get this photo up.
Yeah, and there's a technicality of one car started farther back, so he technically traveled a longer distance in the same amount of time.
That made me. I was pretty annoyed with that.
Yeah. So then it makes you wonder. Okay, was that a true technicality, or was there some backdoor dealings that went on to make it?
They make it seem that way, but the French officials decided to race and kind of saw that coming. So,
but yeah, that just it was when I saw that play out, I was.
They could have. I in the back of my head too, though, I was kind of like, why wouldn't they just have Miles be a little bit ahead, second a little bit behind, third a little bit behind?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And that way, it would have been a clear distinction.
Right. It would have made for a better picture because you'd have V out.
Podium style, I guess.
Yeah.
But to me, why wouldn't you just want Miles to tear through there and get a good time? That'd look better than slowing down, I think.
Maybe he wasn't close to the record or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, but
yeah,
I mean, want the best time possible, not some photo finish.
Well, that was the whole moral of the story. That the Ford executives didn't think in terms of racing; they thought in terms of PR and what looks best, and how can they make the biggest splash, and their ultimate goal is how do we sell more cars.
Well, still, I'm on with Justin on this one. It's much more PR saying, look, we not only won, but we crammed it down Ferrari's throat.
They crammed it down in third anyway. Ferrari didn't even finish the race.
Yeah, but still,
and keep in mind, they're not competing with Ferrari in the real world for car sales.
Right, but still.
They just needed to have a win, and having 1, 2, and 3 is even better.
Yeah, but not only can you say, okay, we are the best car company around, but we beat the top performance car company by a lap and a half. That is much more advertising than, we took first, second,
Ferrari was out of the race, so it didn't matter.
But
they were
still,
beating themselves by a lap and a half.
Okay. But it's just, I was completely on board
it makes you mad.
Yeah,
it makes you super mad.
I was completely on board for Miles. Just go up there and just start cleaning clocks.
And there's kind of a risk there too. If he kept pushing the car hard, what if it broke? How bad would you feel if you gave up? You broke before the finish line and threw it away. When he could realistically just dial it back, cruise in for the win, not a big deal.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. Points here and there. It's just so crushing to know that happened.
And then 2 months later,
and then he dies, at the test track.
Yeah.
Yeah, bummer of an ending.
Yeah, was not seeing that ending coming.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed a little bit of foreshadowing. He talks to Peter. Carroll talks to Peter. Back when he wrecked at the airport, and he's like, "Hey, they have a fire suit on. That's why they wear the fire suit. Gives them time." And in that last scene, he was not wearing a fire suit.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, kind of in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, so I thought, and I was quickly disappointed. And once they show the car explode, then they cut to the next scene where this car pulls up to the doors and the driver gets out. I thought, oh great, they fast forward a couple years and that's Miller's son, or Miles' son, in the driver's seat, and then we find out no, it's only been a couple months. This is some other ding dong driver they have in
that Carroll Shelby doesn't like.
Yeah, I was disappointed. I was hoping that was Ken's son in the driver's seat.
Yeah, you know what I did like? The guy that played Pops. The tall, skinny fella, his right-hand man.
Yeah.
I thought that guy did an outstanding job.
Yes, he did.
Just with his little looks. He didn't have a lot to say.
No.
But, and even like the one point, and I'll see if this stood out to you, he's eating a bologna sandwich at Le Mans, and he's like, here comes rain. And he's just like, yep. Got it under control. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And when he's selling cars, he's that right-hand, the consummate right-hand guy, but I thought that actor pulled that off wonderfully.
Now, guys, how can we go through this whole discussion and not discuss the most obvious prop in the entire movie? The wrench.
The wrench?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did we go this whole conversation without even bringing
That's
it
a
up?
good point. That was,
Because,
he threw it at Carroll Shelby, broke up window in a car.
Yeah, busted his windshield. wins the race,
Mm-hmm.
and Carol makes that. Did you guys catch it when the Carol had it actually
Had it
encased
framed.
in glass and hanging on his wall?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then at the end, he
Gave
gives
it to his son,
Ken's
yeah.
son. Yeah. How did we completely miss this part of the conversation?
Well, I mean, that's more of a sentiment, and it didn't have any of the controversy in it. It was kind of just one of
Okay.
those token sentiments. But, let them circle back at the end of the film and Carol Shelby actually make closure,
Right.
which I felt weird. It's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I guess Miles was a mechanic as well. But it didn't to me. That's the one part I was kind of like, eh. It's a little token of the heartfelt, hey, Carol Shelby's sorry that this kind of went down, talking to his son. He's like, here's a wrench. I don't know. I didn't feel like that was a big part of the movie at the very end. I thought it was funny in the beginning because he had it framed.
Right.
But, the wrench.
I felt it kind of wrap everything up with a nice heartwarming ending versus,
Yeah.
Ken dies the end.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a good way to close it up.
Yeah, you kind of had to, you've had this great story, and you can't end on a bad note. So they figured out a way to polish it up at the end. So,
Well, let's kick off with some our traditional monitoring rating system here. I'm excited. I'm excited. This was a great pick. When Justin picked this, I was like, I am on board 100%. This is one of my favorite films now.
Yeah, my range went completely two different directions on what I perceived the preview to be. And
Oh
what
yeah,
the movie.
the trailer sucks.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Now that I watched it, it's terrible.
It's nice
Whoever
you-
did that is a yeah.
yeah. So that's
They
why,
really did a disservice to the
Yeah,
film.
that's why I was completely
Yeah.
against seeing it in the beginning, and then when
Yeah.
Justin picked it, I was hesitant
Mm-hmm.
because I thought this is just a history lesson. This isn't. This is going to be mind numbing.
Yeah.
But
And
Justin, I need to quit doing that because so far, like every movie you pick is like a knockout for me. So for
What?
whatever reason, I'm still.
He's the one that picked Mad Max. Just FYI.
But he's.
Was that my first pick?
Yeah, that was your
Yeah.
first
Okay,
pick.
so,
Yeah, but let the record show Dave forced us to watch Mad Max 2 because it was so much better.
Oh, no, I said it was the better out of the two. If
No,
you're
you
gonna
said
watch
it, no,
something.
you. Well, on
I mean,
record saying
it's
the
a
best
cult
Mad Max.
classic, and if you're gonna watch the cult classic, you might as well watch the actual cult
I'd
classic.
much rather watch paint dry.
I'm with you there. It's no Howard the Duck, but
That's right.
I'm just gonna point out I'm the only one that hasn't introduced a flop yet.
Mad Max 2, we just brought that up.
It wasn't me. That was Justin.
No, that was you that brought that up.
No, it's Justin.
yeah, that was
I'm
me.
not throwing Justin under the bus on that one. I will on Mad Max, but Mad Max 2 is all you, buddy.
No way, man.
Yeah, but Justin has fully regained himself, like on all his picks.
Yeah, I agree. Now I'm not a big fan of newer movies usually, but this one was a home run.
By far.
Yep, I liked it.
So, Justin, this was your pick. So,
Yeah, what-
do you want to drop the first?
Well, what kind of drew me in was just the actors, the main actors, Christian Bale, Matt Damon. Like I keep telling you, Joe, if there's a mop bucket movie out there for me that I don't even have to think about whether it is or not, it's Good Will Hunting, which is Matt Damon. So I always like to see him and stuff. Saw him in The Martian recently. It's like, you know what, this guy is good. There's a reason he's one of
Oh yeah.
the most famous actors out there. He's
Yeah.
able to carry a movie, and so I pretty much got into it for them, but then was kind of like really enjoying and thought all the racing scenes, just the engine noise, the excitement of the race was a fun part of the movie, and I thought they did a really
Yeah.
good job with that, portraying making it look fast, like you said.
If I may interrupt you,
Mhm.
did you guys notice were there any actors that didn't portray their role spot on?
No.
I mean, like the wife, I thought she did awesome.
Yeah.
The son, the boy, I thought he did awesome. All the big name actors, the Ford execs, all of Cheryl B's team, I thought they did awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there was one
Like I said,
character there that didn't portray themselves good.
there wasn't a part that I found myself being pulled out of the movies like, well, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I had zero.
It's kind of crazy because I think every once in a while I'll notice somebody and be like, that's unrealistic, or that person just didn't sell me on the character, but
Right.
I was sold in this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a good point. Good point, Justin. I like it.
The only thing I might ding it for is that, I mean, there's no like huge ground being broken or anything. It's like everything was done really well, but there wasn't necessarily. This is not a new movie. There's a
Yeah.
certain predictability to it that
Mhm.
it feels like, the general story arc, but plenty of stuff in between to keep you entertained.
I think, yeah, and like you said, it had a nice mix of real-time racing. You know, you can hear the engines. I thought they did that spot on, but also with a little touch of comedy and a little touch of drama.
Right.
So it kind of pulled your emotions everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good call.
So, just trying to get it right in my head where I'm at exactly. I was kind of vacillating back and forth, but I think I'm going to go large. But maybe like a handful that somebody stole out of your large popcorn.
Really?
Somebody picked a couple kernels out. But I can't go medium. I want to say overflow medium, but I can't quite go there because I think it's...
I can't believe it's that low.
Me too.
I'm a mop bucket.
Oh,
I'm a mop bucket. Easy.
I
can watch it. I've watched this 3 times now.
Okay.
And in between those 3 times, I've watched part of it when it just happens to be on. Yeah. I mean, I can watch this all day long, over and over.
I'm large, I think, which is still good rating.
I'm a race car guy, though. I'm a race guy, so.
Yeah.
I thought the engines were spot on. You know, the race scenes were spot on. All right, Joe.
All right, so
I'm overflowing mop. Or I'm mop bucket easy. Not overflowing, but mop bucket.
Yeah, I'm on mop bucket too. Now, when I first saw the 2.5 hour runtime, I was...
Really? 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, when I first saw that, I thought, okay, I was a little questionable on that. And I thought, okay, there's going to be some good parts and there's going to be some boring parts, and I'm going to have to struggle through the boring parts. But honestly, the flow of the movie, it didn't go too fast, it didn't go too slow, and that 2.5 hours goes by quickly.
Yeah.
That even in what I felt was the slowest parts.
Yeah.
It was still meaningful parts of the movie. I didn't find myself going, all right, let's wrap this up. Let's move on to the next scene. There was not a single second of the movie where I was going, okay, yeah, it would have been better if they'd cut this out, or if they'd made this a little longer. It was timed perfectly. Even though it was 2.5 hours, it was played out perfectly.
Didn't realize it was that long. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like I said, the storyline, I was not pulled out at any point of going, well, that could have been a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a finely polished movie. And I went back and read some of the gotchas or inconsistencies, and a lot of those I did not see.
Really? What were some of them? I don't even know.
Okay, so one of them, the fight scene when they're fighting with the bread bag said Wonder Bread Classic. In 1966, it would have just said Wonder Bread.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so little things like that.
Oh, yeah, it would be classic, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still new. And then a lot of the things with the cars and the track, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like they said at the Daytona track, they didn't have the safer barriers until in the 2000s.
Yeah.
So little things like that personally, I didn't notice. So there wasn't. I mean, obviously there's people that notice that, but I don't think that's enough to take away from the story. There's these little minor nuances. But some of this stuff is obvious, but like little things like that, I did not feel hurt the movie any.
Yeah.
So full on mop bucket, excellent choice, Justin. I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah, good. Glad you enjoyed it. Definitely an entertaining movie. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like we've highly stressed, if you've watched the trailer for it, please don't base that trailer off the movie. If you're basing it off the trailer, please go see it. The trailer does not do it justice by any means.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes 92%, tomato meter 98% audience score. So people definitely like this movie.
Nice.
Completely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, some of us rated it accurately with the mop bucket, and others did not.
To me, there's a certain element of cookie cutterness. And like, if you did a cookie cutter movie really well, but still, I can't quite get into mop bucket because there's.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, what movie is going to be outside the realm of cookie cutter? I mean, they pretty much explored just about everything.
Right. Yeah.
So, Dave, what's your?
The Martian, I wouldn't give that a mop bucket either. Even though I thought Matt Damon was good in it, I feel this movie he was on par with his acting in Martian as well. I don't know.
Yeah. I agree with you. Martian, I can watch again and again as well, which is kind of crazy because he pulled off so many scenes just talking to himself.
Yeah.
I have not seen that one.
What, Joe? Jeez a whiz, man.
Okay, so Dave, what's your reasoning behind your mop bucket choice?
That accuracy and the emotion it elicited. So, all the actors spot on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they all sold me. The storyline was good. It made you hate BB. It made you root for Miles, even though Miles is a knucklehead.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it made you appreciate Carroll Shelby and his, you know, get it done attitude. It made me believe that, you know, the Ford guy, Ford the second, the Deuce, that he was kind of inept, but, you know, going out of his way to prove that he was in charge. You know, and Lee Iacocca, I've heard his name before.
Yeah, there was
and I don't know why, but
there's a movie where his name's been thrown in. I can't for the life of me. I can.
Yeah, I mean, I was familiar with that name.
I can remember the tagline, but I don't, for the life of me, cannot figure out the movie.
But I thought he did a fantastic job as kind of mediating the situation. So, you know, and Pops, you know, the old skinny fellow that was Shelby's right-hand man, played a key role without saying a whole lot. You know, just his little looks he would give, you know, and his knowledge base. And I don't know, I just sold. There wasn't anything that I was taken back by, and I was drawn into the drama of it all, with, you know, a little bit of comedy thrown in here and there. And the comedy wasn't like slapstick comedy that you throw in just to have comedy. It was comedy that was just situational. And I could see it happening in real life, you know. So just that deal of, it was all fairly realistic as far as this movie draws you in. You get mad, you get sad, you get happy, you laugh a little,
Yeah.
you get drawn up into the drama of the race. So, you know, I'm kind of like, yeah.
With the exception of the grocery bag fight scene, for me, there were some moments that seemed like just a little bit of a laugh moment that didn't quite get there for me. So that's part of it. Maybe took it out of a little bit for me. Is
Yeah.
you could tell this was kind of supposed to be a little bit of a moment where you get a little bit of a laugh that it didn't quite always land for me, and with the exception of their fight, which was funny. I like that. So.
Yeah, it was a thrilling ride nonetheless.
Yeah.
Just
super well shot, polished, everything. Yeah, for me, the story itself maybe didn't quite push it to the super high levels for me, but yeah, to each his own, I guess.
Okay.
Well, that's why we like to have all differing views.
Yeah, I agree, and that's part of it is, you know, getting different views on the different scenes and different takes. I think we had a nice little three generation look here, and three different movie styles, so it makes it nice.
At one point, you asked if anybody didn't kill their role, which you don't expect the kind of side characters to do some amazing job. But sometimes I thought some of the pit crew weren't totally believable. Like the white flag would come out, and one of the crew guys would yell, "That means it's the final lap," or which is just kind of for the audience, but to me seemed kind of unrealistic and a little cheesy.
I didn't even notice that.
Like some of the crew guys that are working in it, they'd get one line here and there, and to me they didn't quite.
Yeah.
They didn't seem totally believable sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's all right. So, well, this week, you know, Ford versus Ferrari. I thought it was a very good film. Mop Bucket, obviously. I think it might be my first Mop Bucket. I don't know.
No, I think Peanut Butter Falcon got one too.
Yeah.
Did it really? Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
So next week's Dave's choice.
Yeah, next week.
So, Dave, are
Do
we
we get
going to...
any input?
Yeah, you guys can have some input. I'm
All
not
right.
sure, though, what we're going to pick between. This is a tough one because, you know, this is a good movie. So
So are we going to discuss this on air or off?
yeah, we'll discuss here real quick.
Okay.
So I'm initially thinking, Joe, since you haven't seen Good Will Hunting, to follow up with another Matt Damon film.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's a lot of other things. So what do you guys feel like? Do you want to switch gears so we could go old school and go Blade Runner with the Harrison Ford one, the original, which is kind of sci-fi, drama, you know, murder mystery type
One of my
deal?
dad's favorite movies, he says.
Yep. We talked about American Beauty, which is kind of an iconic film that's got 5 different plots to it. It's a long film, but more drama. And then with Kevin Spacey, one of his best works, I think. The Big Chill. The Big Chill's an older movie. It's drama.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
It's kind of like retro, but I don't know if it'll play over as well. But
You mean like 50s?
no, it's early 80s.
Okay.
You know, but it's one of those that it doesn't have any explosions or anything that's going to entertain Joe. You know, where Blade Runner does. Blade Runner's action, and Good Will Hunting. I don't know. It's another one of these stories. It's just a good, heartfelt
Still a
story.
good movie.
So, I don't know. What do you guys feel like?
Well, I've seen Good Will Hunting about 5 or 6 times by now.
All right. Well, we'll skip that for now. Then let's mark
Okay.
it off. So that leaves The Big Chill going kind of retro with a slow movie. American Beauty with 5 different subplots. A lot of stuff to kind of keep up with. Have you? Neither one of you seen American Beauty?
I have not.
I have, but it's been a long time. So.
Okay. And then Blade Runner, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. Any one of those sounds good to me.
Yeah, you guys pick. I'm game for anything.
Well, Joe, you're the hard one here to please. Do you feel like you need to have some explosions in your life, or what are we saying here? Can you get away with following another movie that doesn't have... Although this one had a couple car wrecks and explosions and stuff.
Right.
I might
What do you-
kind of
what do you
lean
feel like?
away from Blade Runner just because of the sci-fi,
Okay.
just to give a little bit of a break in between.
Put it on hold a little bit.
Yeah, do that
Okay.
a little bit later.
So that leaves American Beauty or The Big Chill. Tell you what, let's see which one we can find.
Yes.
There we go.
That's a good way to determine.
Okay.
Because the Usual Suspects was like nowhere. We couldn't find that anywhere
Yeah,
online.
American Beauty, you said?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be American Beauty.
The Big Chill, 19.
You can get The Big Chill on Amazon, but we have to rent it.
Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be American Beauty.
American Beauty it is.
Yep.
All right.
That's
So
my
next
pick for next week, American
right.
Beauty. Get it
Everybody
watched.
out there, go ahead and watch it.
Yeah,
So
start watching it and get a little jump on us.
You'll be caught up.
All right, good deal.
Yeah.
All right, well, Justin, take us out of here.
All righty. I'm going to pass it to Joe. Let him take us home.
All right.
Joe, then. Joe, take
Yeah.
us out of here.
All right, so for all of our movies, reviews, news, information, be sure to visit our website at beentherewatchthat.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube at BTWTPod. And subscribe to the podcast, Been There, Watch That, hosted by Anchor.fm. And please, please, please leave us a 5-star review. And please send us your list of movies. Last week we reviewed Clue, which shout out to Bobby Nicholas for sending that. That was on his list of suggested movies. So please send us your suggestions. We would love to hear your feedback. And feel free, as long as you stay civil, you can tell us how well we did or if we are completely off center on our movie ratings. So we would love all the feedback we can get.
Sounds awesome. And make sure you catch American Beauty next week. You can be in tune and maybe throw in some comments on any of those platforms of what you thought as well.
There we go.
Just be warned, you may be fired, though. Dave fired your friend last time.
Yeah. Bobby got banned from the
Bobby,
list.
at least for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
We'll let him back. He can have a round. I mean, yeah,
I was gonna say,
everybody gets one.
Bobby sent me a list, so I'll give you guys the list and let you guys pick through it.
You can get one. Get one throwaway, but after that, we'll see.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
almost had to get a mop bucket to get back in on that.
Yeah, there you go. Better be a good one.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one,
Okay.
Dave. Because you mentioned it has all these subplots, and I'm like, wow, I don't remember anything about this. So it deserves a rewatch. 'cause-
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, next week, American Beauty. Make sure you join us for
Yep.
Justin, Joe, and myself. We're out of here until next week. Thanks for watching, and tune back in for more awesome podcasts. Been there, watch that.